Okay, well, this is lesson 289 from the Workbook of A Course in Miracles. And again, I want to remind you that I always think it's important. Now, it's important for a couple of reasons to me. Number one is the human being is in a condition of forgetting. This is the Great Amnesia. Remember that. So, it's been called the Great Amnesia. It's a condition of forgetting. That's what space and time is. A condition of forgetting who we are, where we are in reality, and what our function is in the divine order within the triune Godhead that creates eternally. And remember, the ego, which there was a lesson earlier, the mechanisms of illusion was discussed. In this were born the mechanisms of illusion. Okay, the mechanisms of illusion include forgetting. So, in any given moment, if it's possible to forget the totality of reality of who you are, it's just as likely impossible that you've forgotten as much as you possibly can about what's going on right here and right now, which is why this is a practice and which is why it's a discipline, because we're learning to use the forgetting as a way of remembering. Okay? And one of the things, time is part of how the forgetting is fosters, and time fosters forgetting, and forgetting fosters time. So remember, it's entirely possible to forget the purpose that we're doing these lessons and then judge ourselves just by the lesson today, forgetting why we're doing these lessons and forgetting the purpose behind the technique and the well laid out program, the mind training program of A Course in Miracles that we've been given to augment and prove true experientially the theoretical framework that is a text. So it's always good that one of the reasons why we have such a thing as these little meditative readings, these little readings that we contemplate before these lessons, is for that purpose, to remember some of the things that the ego wants us to forget, because when we forget it, we once again fall into identification with the ego unknowingly and live within the world of the ego where the laws of man and space and time seem to operate, and we've forgotten entirely because we removed ourselves from our connection to the reality of who we are and the laws of the kingdom as they work truly in us. Okay, so one of the things that's good to remember is the purpose of the lessons that we're having now is direct approach to God, a more direct approach to God, a more direct approach to direct experience of who we are in reality each and every day. Okay, and we're on lesson number 289. The Holy Spirit is the bridge that we're given to utilize to help us remember that which we have forgotten. And this is good. As much as we're willing to remember in any one interval that we're willing to turn over to the Holy Spirit, as much as we're willing to remember, which is based on the limitation of what we use the forgetting for, okay? We will only allow the Holy Spirit to work within the limitation of what we're willing to remember or let go of. When your mind is willing to let go of the entirety and heart. And remember, you're not the judge of your own readiness. The Holy Spirit is, which is why it's important to utilize. The Holy Spirit as a judge mitigates, because he knows where you are and knows your readiness factor. Jesus works closely with the Holy Spirit in miracle readiness and revelation readiness. And a moment of revelation is a temporary suspension from all fear, because you've become willing to let go of all of it, because all of your mind wants to know. Both sides of the split have come to the point where they're functioning for a single purpose beyond the ability of the ego to identify with, because you've made the decision and empowered your mind and are holding it in that posture that allows this to occur. And we're doing this in order to allow the Holy Spirit to bridge that gap, present us with an experience of the brightness of the light of our own wholeness in conjunction with the wholeness of reality, so that we begin to know who we all are and remember that within the forgetting, and use the forgetting as a way to remember that, rather than use moments of forgetting to wander further into temptation to think the illusion is our reality and try to solve problems at the levels where which they can't be solved. The past is over, it can touch me not. Okay? Now, that's not going to mean you're not going to remember the past. You're going to remember in your awareness and in the ability for you to utilize forgiveness that the past is no longer happening, and that which in the past does not have the ability to affect you unless you maintain it as a function within who you are right now, your mind and heart. And the way you know that is not because you pay attention to the thoughts that you think you're conscious, because you pay attention and utilize the reflection that you're getting from the projection to trigger you, to key you in to when the past still has hooks in you and when things are there that need to be forgiven. That's the purpose and the utilization that the Holy Spirit has for the entirety of the illusion of space and time, as it mitigates and transfers our dreams of fear and guilt into joyous experiences of reality. And this lesson is what it's about. This lesson reminds me much of Jesus saying, Kingdom of Heaven is all about you, and yet you see it not. It is right there. The master teacher used to try to teach it. It's right next, the real world is right next to the world of illusion, the illusion world. Yet when you can only serve one master, you can't serve two masters. So where you function, what you identify with, brings about a totality of the awareness of that perceived reality. Whereas forgiveness offers you the ability to see what's right behind it in the spaces, the forgiven world that's been there all along, the replacement world that the Holy Spirit offers us, the replacement world for the dreams of death that God would have us not be capable of making real. The replacement for our illusions, the replacement for our dreams and nightmares of fear and guilt are what the real world is. And forgiveness, which is what else could be forgiven but the past? What else would you? There's nothing happening in the future unless you're carrying the past into the future. Then you know you must forgive the past if you like the future to be different, which is what this is all about. Now, if you free yourself entirely from your past through an action of forgiveness, you'll look on the brightness of what's whole and perfect within you and all your brothers, and you won't experience the fear and guilt that you previously thought were part of your experience of who you were in space and time, and the reality that experience gave the body as what you are in space and time. The past is over, it can touch me not unless the past is over in my mind. The real world must escape my sight. Hence, Jesus. The kingdom of heaven is at hand. The kingdom of heaven is all about you, and yet you see it not. And the continuation of his teaching would be, forgiveness offers me everything I want. So if I want to see the kingdom of heaven, right where I was previously watching an illusion of space and time, wherein which things were operating for the purpose of proving the body was real and death was our fate, then I must utilize forgiveness in order to begin to get glimpses of who we truly are and see beyond the illusion of space and time by allowing the illusion to be free from the ego's needs fulfillment and utilized for the Holy Spirit's mitigation and translation of nightmares into happy dreams. Okay? So, for I am really looking nowhere, seeing but what is not there. How can I then perceive the world forgiveness offers? This the past was made to hide, yes. For this the world that can be looked upon only now. And the only way you can look on now is through the utilization of a forgiven mind that does not look to the past for anything because it knows of who it is, and it's freed from the necessity of thinking that the past has anything it can offer it, because it never had anything to offer to you before, except continual thought that the future will make you happy, because the past is something you need to escape, with no way of escaping the past except through the repetition of the reliving of it through the replication that comes in the nature of the unforgiven mind as it projects the imagery that it perceives as the world around it. It has no past, for what can be forgiven but the past, and if it is forgiven, it is gone. That's Jesus' promise to you. When you forgive the past, it will not no longer preoccupy you, therefore cause you worry and consternation. It will no longer, I was just looking at something as I was saying that, it'll free you from the problems that you have bound yourself to, that you look for worldly solutions for but have yet to find. It's going to free you from all those and give you the satisfaction of knowing that none of those are capable of affecting you the way you thought, because what you thought you were is not who you are. Father, let me look upon a past that is, Father, let me not look upon a past that is not there, for you have offered me your own replacement. Yes, through the Holy Spirit. That's the function of the Holy Spirit. If you go back and read that section, you'll see that's its exact place in how this lesson would function. In a present world, the past has left untouched and free of sin. Here is the end of guilt. And here am I made ready for your final step. Shall I demand that you wait longer for your son to find the loveliness you planned to be the end of all his dreams and all his pain? Of course not. When put to you reasonably, your answer would be natural. Of course you'd say, I want no part of dreams that would cause anyone pain and suffering, because it would be my pain and suffering I'm causing. And that realization brings about the ability for you to look directly at the problem and look for a solution that is not of this world, but happens through you and the experience of forgiveness when you come to recognize in your heart and your mind that you're whole and perfect and have never been separate and suffered from the dramas that you've been utilizing to inflict the pain upon yourself. That's no longer necessary. You planned. Shall I demand that you wait longer for your son to find the loveliness you planned to be the end of all his dreams and all his pain? Of course not. Don't be absurd. And that's over right now with the utilization of the remembrance of the past is over. It can touch me not. In allowing the Holy Spirit to join you in that open space made clear by your declaration. And the light and love that you are, enter in, and the wholeness takes the place of that which you thought was imperfect.